What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the collective clips where you already know we get it in. But before we get it in, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding! Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support. We're going up on this channel and it's all because of you. I didn't do it, you did, but I appreciate it and I'm humble. So trip out on this. When I first started YouTube, my very first video, I told a story, right? And yesterday I was on my live and people were asking me, what's the very first video you did? Do you recall? And I absolutely do. But when I told that story, I didn't tell it in its exact entirety because at that time, I was still new to the game. I was still new to YouTube. I wasn't actually seasoned yet. You know, I didn't know enough in the YouTube game to tell a story. I was just kind of rambling and told the story, you know, kind of roundabout because I didn't want to put too much details on it. But now I want to tell the story about the homeboy Spanky from Gilas in its entirety because it's a tragic story. And I feel it needs to be put out there the right way. So bear with me. Let's get into it. For those of you that have never heard the story, it's a trip. For those of you that have, I got added details, man, that you've never heard before. So this is the real shit, right? I did my homework. Now, when I was in the youth authority, I came across a lot of norteños, a lot of good, active, functioning norteños. Some I'll never forget to this day, just because they had a big impact in my life. We went through a struggle and a strive together. And when you go through a struggle with anyone while incarcerated, man, it builds a bond, it builds a friendship for life. Whether you're on one side or the other, you'll never forget the trials and tribulations you guys went through together at the same time. Now, here's one thing that's a fact. It's been spoken on other channels, and I'll say it right here first and foremost. You know, the youth authority in the 90s was probably the worst place on the planet you could be. One of them, right? At least for a gang member in California. It was pretty bad. And almost 75% of the individuals, North, South, Black, Woods, didn't matter what you were, that went to the youth authority in them times, when they got out within the first 4 months, they were either incarcerated for murder, they were dead, or they were already on their way to prison. That's just the way it was. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know, that was a training ground, a gladiator school for the youth. There was no rehabilitation. There was no I told you so's. There was no nada. It was either you got out and you were more seasoned in the game and you were trying to prove yourself because now you're that one, right? Or you did it. You know, you didn't get that chance because someone clipped you. That's just how that was. That's the game. So anyways, along the way, when I was in Fred C. Nellis in Southern California in Whittier, on Whittier Boulevard, there was a handful of norteños there that I could say were righteous and about the business. And there was another handful I could say that were just sprinkled in for fucking added preservative. But Spanky from Gilroy was one of the homies that was righteous, that was down, that was seasoned more than the rest of us because he had come from a different institution. So when he got there, he brought a whole new flavor, a whole new twist to the game. He just didn't give a fuck, but at the end, he was a sneaky individual that was good at manipulating the other side, getting real cool with the SOUTHSIDERS, and he had that look. You know, he was already all tatted back. He was young, but a little bit older than me at the time. I say I was like, in them times, like 12, 13 years old. He was like 16 years old already, so he was just a little bit older. So anyways, we did time there, and me and him used to bump heads a lot. And the reason why we bumped heads is because, like I said, he was seasoned. He knew what it was to be in different institutions, different places, and be around a lot more homeboys. All I knew at that time was NRCC, which was the reception, and that. I made that my home. And I got well-versed in being in Southern California and being around Southsiders and Sureños and rolling with the program. Again, I knew who the opposition were, and it just was what it was. He was more so in, hey, bro, we're going to use this to our advantage. We're going to establish, we're going to fucking manipulate, twist minds, do what we got to do. Because like I said, he was a lot older than other individuals. And he was able to facilitate and do that. Me, on the other hand, I was just like, fuck it, Holmes, this is Norte. We're just going to fight and just try to catch a body and get the hell up out of here. Two different mentalities, so we bumped heads a lot. But at the end of the day, he was right and I was wrong. Facts. So we ended up going, both of us getting shipped out. He got shipped out prior to myself, and he went to DeWitt Nelson, which was more for the older guys, and it was a programming facility at that time. Everybody was trying to get to two places in the youth authority. They were either trying to get to Ventura, which was unisex. They had men, they had women there, or boys and girls, or however you want to call it. Everybody was trying to get there to go kick it. That was in Camarillo, right? Or they were trying to get to DeWitt Nelson, which was a programming facility where they actually had a program where you worked off-site, meaning you would go to work at Jack in the Box and come on back to the Youth Authority. I never made it there. The homie got lucky and he made it there. And I was hearing a lot of shit about him. He was over there tatting all the homies down because he was a good tattoo artist. And I seen several pictures of homeboys that would, go to Chad or go there. And just, it's a small world. After all, right? It's a small world we live in, so everyone hears about everyone, especially when you know the homeboy quite extensively. So it was what it was. So in 1996, July 96, I parole. He paroles around the same time, 2 different institutions. And I move on with my life. I'm in the mix. Like I said, within the first 4 months, man, I'm in and out of county jail, doing my first prison terms, just all kinds of bullshit, right? Well, in June of 1997, Spanky is involved in a gang fight, a red on red, meaning norteños versus norteños. Okay, and they felt some type of way because a homeboy was hitting the head with the board. So Spanky and a couple other homeboys decided that if for no other reason they would double back and come back the next day. And in the midst of doing that, there was an individual that was executed. He was shot execution style. And that was that. It was a cold case for a very long time. Okay, it was a cold case. And this happened in June of 1997. So in about, I'd say 2006, okay, what happens is I knocked me a bad beezy, right? I got me a chick. She was my second baby mama. And we're cruising. We're cruising. Life has moved on. I haven't forgot about Spanky, but he was living his lifestyle. I was living mine. And we were both active in the gang and in and out of prison, I'm sure, or whatever he was doing, I thought. So I ended up going, knocking this chick, and I had a coworker that invited us to Santa Cruz, to the beach. So we were going to have a weekend at the beach. My chick was pregnant. He had his old lady, just a couple homeboys, their chicks. Let's go do the familia thing. Anything beats fucking knocking tiradas on, at the club every weekend. So we're on our way. Let's go. And in going to Santa Cruz, we pass a place called Casa de Fruta, which is pretty well known in Northern California, right? And there's a gas station called Chevron there. So as we pull up to this gas station, my chick's like, hey, I want a few things. Let's get some waters. Let's get that. I tell the homeboy what you need. He was like, whatever, bro. Give me some M&Ms and shit, some candy. So I go in the store, and as I go in the store, my chick goes to the bathroom and is doing her thing. I look at a newspaper, and I see the homeboy Spanky on the newspaper. It looks a little bit different. It's been a few years, but I can never forget that face. Now, you got to understand, this whole time, I thought he was Chicano or Mexicano, just like me. Okay, I never, assumed he was a Salvadorian. I never assumed he was a Salvadoreño, right? It just never crossed my mind. I didn't even know what a fucking vato from El Salvador looked like. So I see him on the cover of this newspaper, and I snatch it up, and I'm looking at it like, oh shit, I'm tripping. And my chick comes out, she's like, what's up? And I was like, hey, this is the homie. I was locked up with this homie. Yeah, you know everybody. Big, you knew my pipa last night at the hotel room. Yeah, she knew that, right? So I'm like, no, for reals, this is the homie. So I start telling her the story I'm telling you about the Youth Authority, how we bumped heads. We didn't really care for each other. But he was a good, solid homeboy, and I can't take that away from him. He was a real norteño, right? Now, I remember in the Youth Authority, everybody has taitas. A taita is like your best friend, the dude who you're closest to in the Youth Authority. And it could be a vato from anywhere. My taita was from Salinas. Straight up from Casitas. That was my boy. We rocked in that motherfucker like if we were the same person. I just looked at him. He already knew what I was thinking. That's just because you got that ESP with the homeboys. I like to say the WSP, but you just know, from doing time together. So, he thinks like I think, same mentality. Well, Spanky's type at the time was a homeboy named Shadow from Richmond, who was a white norteño, right? Hands of steel. About to put everybody on their pockets. Good homie. So I read that newspaper, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because I read the newspaper and I'm tripping. So when we get to Santa Cruz, the homeboy's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, hey, trip out on this. And I start telling him some in-depth shit I can't say around the women, right? You know how it is. And he was like, fuck, eh? And I said, yeah, I guess he's wanted for murder, bro, or something. That's what they're tripping on. That's what this article says, right? Little did I know, and didn't know until just last night, exactly the murder he was wanted for, right? Or what happened. So this is what I've discovered since just last night. And this is why I wanted to retell the story in its entirety. So like I said, in 1997, June, he gets out and they do red on red. It's North versus North, and Avalto gets cued executioner style. So in 2006, they open the cold case files and they figure out where, who did this. I don't know how they figured it out. I don't know how they found me. The Libyans, right? But they found them. And they arrested 2 individuals now in 2006 that were supposedly part or allegedly part of this murder. And both these guys were living in Stockton, California at the time. Both had families. They just had moved on, Shit happens. Sometimes you do dirt way back in the days and it'll catch up to you. There's no statute of limitations on the murder game, right? So when you put the murder game down, later on, you never know. Next morning, you open up your eyes, guns, badges, blue suits, and wood guys. Got any coffee, brother? Well, we lock your ass up. And anyways, the homies get locked up. But they can't find the third person. I was always under the assumption that Spanky knew what was up, so he jammed wherever he jammed to, right? I thought Mexico, but come to find out, he was from El Salvador, right? And I was always under the assumption when I talked to the homeboy that he had fucking went on the run and jammed, left the country. And I said, oh, good, they ain't gonna get the homeboy. But that wasn't the case. What had happened was prior to him being implicated in this murder, right? He got fucking, what do you call it? He got, they sent his ass back, right? They sent homeboy Spanky straight to El Salvador, man. He got fucking, what's that shit called when they do that? My fucking mind's all foggy right now, right? He got ostracized, right? Anyways, they sent him over there, and he was not coming back, right? Because he didn't have citizenship or whatever. The whole time I thought he was a Mexican, man. He wasn't. They deported his ass. That's the word, right? So they deported the homeboy, and he started to live a life over there, just like the other homeboys were living their life in Stockton. You do a murder, you do whatever you do, life goes on. He's over there. So even in the article, they knew exactly who they were looking for, but it says in the article that they weren't even going to try to extradite him because he was deported and sent to El Salvador. There was no rhyme or reason. They knew El Salvador wouldn't extradite him back. They had no extradition with them. It was kind of just like, hey, he got away with this one as long as he doesn't come back. But if he ever comes back, we're going to bust his ass, right? So the homeboy moves on. Now, prior to reading that article last night, I had called the homeboy who was a Staita. We had got in contact through Facebook. We chopped it up. This is way before me ever doing social media, YouTube, any of that. And so I'm talking to the homeboy. We're catching up. The homeboy Shadow, right? And I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? How you been? Whoop-de-whoop. And time moves on, and he's like, hey, did you hear about Spanky? I said, nah, what happened, bro? He said, hey, that about the fucking, got caught up with a murder, and he fucking wiggled to El Salvador. That's when I first found out that he was from El Salvador, right? And I was like, serio? And I said, I didn't even know that, bro. He goes, yeah, fucking Avato's a little different. I said, I don't see the difference. And I never have. To me, fucking Latino's Latino, man. If you're Mexican, Salvadorian, Panamanian, Guatemalan, Honduran, all that shit, right? I can't even say it right. All that, to me, Central America, Mexico, I never seen the differences. Other than some vatos were shorter than others and other vatos stunk like banana leaves. But besides that, I just never knew, right? So anyways, he tells me, yeah, Spanky fucking wiggled out there, bro. He's doing good. He works at a car dealership, a cell phone place, whatever he's doing. I said, they got cell phones in El Salvador? Couldn't believe it, right? I said, them vatos are over there fucking killing each other with chains and machetes. I didn't know they had cell phones. So anyways, we chop it up. I was like, wow, that's a trip. And I told him the story about me going to Casa de Fruta at the Chevron and seeing the newspaper, and it all coincides with each other. It all makes sense, right? So he's living his life. It's whatever. I'm like, hey, more power to the homeboy. I hope he lives good forever. Now, the murder game is never a good thing. It ain't no game, right? When you take someone's life for whatever reason, it's a bad thing. And I'm of the assumption, man, that you should, reap what you sow. It's your bed. You lie in it. If you get caught and you do time, you can't cry about it. It is what it is. Again, man, because me and him were homeboys, actual friends, personally on a personal basis, I wanted to see him win. People change their lives. I've met a lot of people, true stories, that have been involved in certain things and have never looked back. That shit woke them up. They were like, damn, homie, shit, bro, the way I've seen this whole shit explode, I'm cool, bro. And they turn into family men. They move on. They have children, and they kind of like mentally block it and forget it. You know, you see them 20 years down the road and you remember what they did when they were young, but they're like, hey, bro, I don't even recall that. And either they're trying to hold on like in Vogue to their story or they just don't. Your mind works in mysterious ways. It changes things. So anyways, I was like, whatever, I hope the homeboy does right. And that was the last I had heard of it. So when I got onto YouTube, I decided, hey, that's a crazy story to tell because there's a twist in this story. Okay, for those of you that don't know, this is how the story ends up. So in El Salvador at the time, man, now it's a little bit different, right? But in them times, MS-13 were the dominant gang, period. They were a force to be reckoned with in Central America, right? They were on every block, every corner. They had it sewed up, ripped gut cannibal style. They had the fucking whole block sewn. And if you went over there with tattoos or looking like you were from a different barrio, they were going to jam you up. They were going to approach you, I'm sure. You know, I've been plenty of times to just different spots throughout Northern California and even Southern California where I'm at the gas station filling up gas and I get jammed up. Hey, homie, where you from? Just because of my tattoos. You know, a lot of people want to get tattoos and all that when they're locked up. They think it's cool, eh? Well, you're so cool, I'm going to call you a culo. And this is exactly what it is. It makes you a target. Okay, well, the same thing that'll make you laugh will make you cry. Hey, bro, I got some good ass work. Yeah, but you can't go nowhere without a long sleeve shirt on because every time you're out and about, you never know if someone will spot you. Hey, and people know prison tattoos from fucking street tattoos. There's a big difference. You can tell. At least I can. I'm laced up enough to understand, hey, that vato's done time. I can just tell by that tat. Here's some knowledge you can't get in college, right? Let your antennas lift and listen to this one. A lot of us that were locked up, whether it's north, south, black, wood, doesn't matter. We all got the same tattoo patterns. A lot of us get the demons with the clocks and the prison bars. And there are people that get cultura work, you know, like Dubs has real nice cultura work or even lefty gunplay. Vatos get their shit. And I got some cultura on me as well. But at the same time, there's a lot of vatos that get the same type of ink. You just know, hey, this vato got that shit locked up. That's incarceration type shit. I see that right there from the gate. Stevie Wonder seen that, right? And they ain't lying. It's the truth. So when you're all tatted down, you become a target on the streets because people could creep up on you. Hey, I think that vato gets a huelga bird on his neck. He's from up north. Or that vato got fucking LA on the back of his head. I think he's from LA, right? Either that or he's a big time Dodger fan. Go Fernando Valenzuela. So now trip out on this. The homeboy had a real big norteño on his neck. Not real big, but I mean, it was enough where it busted eyes. And I remember he had a tattoo on the back of his head and several other tattoos, Gilas, Gilroy, which is where he's from, right? And somewhere along the line, he gets spotted by MS-13. And from what the homeboy told me and from what I heard, man, and this is all secondhand information but it's actual and factual, it really happened. Cold part about it is the cops don't even know, but we're going to close the cold case up right now, right? This is a one time and one time only. We're going to shut the door on this one, right? So the homeboy is out there doing his thing, man, and somehow he gets spotted. So this real story is this chick sets him up, right? This chick, he meets this chick at the cell phone place where he's working. They start to date. But the whole time, her brother is one of the MS-13 big ones, right? One of the hogs, one of the real ones out there in a leadership role or a guy that has a lot of say, so a lot of respect. And this whole courting and dating and all this that was going on was all part of the manipulation and the plan to get him, to get the homie, right? So they rocked him to sleep, man. They got him comfortable. He really thought this was a chick. I seen pictures with her. Man, a lot of shit. Since I wanted to tell the story again, I got a lot of people read a lot of articles just last night. Tripped me the fuck out, right? So he actually had this chick pregnant. She was having his baby. All that's how deep it went. And whatever the case may be, the day came, right? And so he was deciding to move in with this chick. She lived with her familia. It's very poor in El Salvador in certain places, right? So they had all her family living in one spot and he lived with his mother, just him and his mother, right? Because he was on the run. She lived out in El Salvador. So he lived in his own spot. She lived in her own spot. They were going to get their own little place together because she was pregnant. And they were able to lure him to her house under the fucking assumption that they were going to have a birthday party. And so the homeboy goes over there and instead of fucking opening up presents, they decide to pull out machetes and open him up. And over a 2-day course of time, man, 2 days long, the homeboy went through some horrific shit, right? Hopefully he was gone within the first few blows, man. I like to believe that because I don't wish that upon no one. But it's different in different countries. Motherfuckers that get medieval on your ass. Where in California, the West Coast, the East Coast, United States, period, man, you might just get smacked right there in front of fucking, McDonald's ordering a 20-piece extra crispy. Or, motherfuckers could set you up or whatever. But this right here was dangerous. This was a horrific scene. So anyways, they decided to chop the homeboy up in several pieces. And instead of getting rid of him and trying to cover it up, that's not the way they get down over there. They like to set examples and lay demos down and make statements. So what these vatos decided to do was put him in a garbage bag. Or actually, it was in 2 duffel bags. And drop him off right there on his porch of his mother's house, knock on the door and say, hey, not run, not knock and get out of there, but literally knock on the door. And when his mother answered, hello, we're dropping your son off. And she said, well, where is he? It's right there in the bags. Don't ever bring a vato like that around us anymore, and jams. Now, when I talked to the homie last night, a different brother from Gilas, he told me, hey, bro, from what I heard, it was over the chick. I guess he smashed on the chick. Her brothers felt a certain way. It wasn't even gang related. And then I talked to another homeboy, and he was like, Charlie, bro, they killed him because he was a homie. They had spotted him. They were plotting on him for a while. That chick, the whole time, bro, that she was just gamed up. She was gaming him up. And I said, for real? So I don't know what to believe. But here's a trip. So reading the article, just recently they had released another article where they were talking about cold case files that were solved on murders in the Gilroy area. The murder actually that he allegedly committed happened in Morgan Hills, right? So that's closer to San Jose. So again, when shit happens in places like El Salvador, different countries, you just, it's weird, man. It doesn't get reported. I told you guys a story. I don't know if I have, man. When I went to Juarez, I'll never go back, right? One of the most dangerous places on earth. You just feel the presence of death, right? Shout out to my Mexicano nationals, my paisas, but man, Juarez was fucking different. The frontera right there is crazy, right? And me and the homeboy, we were on the run, and we were going to get a haircut, get a fade. There was a small little shop, man. They were called the B-Twin Fades. They got down. They had like pictures of Eminem, Daddy Yankee. Y'all remember Daddy Yankee? Man. They had pictures of all these different like artists that dudes would fly into Mexico just to get their haircut by these guys. These vatos hit the razor fade tough. They were bad. 2 twin brothers. And I remember one day I'm walking and I see a vato fucking just laid out. I think he's taking a nap, right? And I tell the homeboy, look at that vato right there. Fucking just asleep right there on the sidewalk next to a pile of shit. Flies and all kinds of shit. And I think the flies are there because of the shit. Now they were there because of him, right? And I was like, there ain't no way that... He does smell like the homeboy shadow. So anyways, we go get our haircut, whatever we're doing. A week later, 2 weeks later, we go to get our haircut again. The vato's still there. Only he's not light as a feather, but he's stiff as a board, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck. The vato's gone. The homie said, oh, yeah, he's been dead, bro, since that first day. I said, how do you know? I know, bro. You can't tell with a dead body. I said, I could kill him, but I can't feel him. I'm just fucked. What's happening? A month later, he was still there right before we jammed, or a couple weeks after that. They never even got rid of his body. People were just stepping over him, eating tacos de perro. I was like, oh, nah, bro, this is different out here. Well, it's the same thing in El Salvador, man. At least it was before the president changed shit, right? You come up missing, you come up missing. Who are you going to tell? Half the people you're reporting to, their sons are probably the ones who did it. It's just different. It was a corrupt police force. It was a corrupt area. Pobrecito, the homeboy fucking, I don't know if he got the proper burial by his mother or what happened. But just imagine the shock and the horror if someone did that to you, left you on your front mother's porch or on the front porch of your mother's house. It's just fucking crazy, right? But that's the story in its entirety. It's crazy how people that I've done time with the youth authority, a lot of people too, I catch up with them now years later, and almost 90% of us have been incarcerated, went through prison. A lot of the homeboys have passed. A lot of the homeboys are doing life. And it's like very, very few got their shit together and learned their lesson. I can't name one. That's just right off the back of my head. It's just, I can't even name one, man. I myself got lucky that I did. I was doing life on the installment plan and decided to get off that road. But for so many years, man, I thought I was going down that right path. Gang banging and being a part of something, could ultimately lead you into a duffel bag. Look at the homeboy. It's not like he was out there putting work on the Southerners or out there doing dirt. He actually killed one of his own kind, red on red, over fucking a gang fight, a street fight, which ultimately led him on a path to leaving the country, getting extradited about the country, deported. And then he finds himself at the end of the road in a duffel bag. You know, I've always sat, when I've been in the hole, I've sat down and I looked at the walls and I'm like, damn, what led me here? You know, fuck, bro. I was out there doing my thing. Especially when you're doing a violation. I used to get to Tracy the brown ass stinky water. And I always smelled shadow on the walls, even when he wasn't there, right? And I used to be like, fuck, bro. I was just on that guy who's getting a mean ass mamon from 2 tortas last week. Now I'm right here fucking talking out the broken window. It's ugly, but it'd be like that. Anyways, just a story I wanted to tell, not to glorify, but to tell it in its entirety. And that is actually the very first story I ever told on YouTube. So I wanted to tell it the real way. With that being said, up to Chamus move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And hopefully, man, you do the right thing. Think about what you do before you do it. Don't just jump into that fucking... If you're a youngster, don't just jump into that car because you think you're cool, Holmes. Are you truly prepared to do the time and the repercussions behind jumping in that ride? I wasn't, but I did it anyways. And I'm here, luckily, to tell you, Holmes, that ride ain't always what it seems to be. That's real talk. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's the betterment of everybody and all people, man. Stay the fuck up out of prison. It ain't cool in there. It's boring. Ask Chito Ranas. That Vato is like, hey, nah, it wasn't cool. Aha! No, it wasn't. Bang, bang. The gun.